Doctor Who is infamous for its horror, the hide behind the sofa moment, so much so that it is even in the advertising. It was a stereotype, a trope anticipated of the program. I feel I could do a whole video talking about Classic Who's approach to it, but this time I want to talk about the revival, and possibly its most iconic horror element: the Weeping Angels. Now, I did do a video about the Weeping Angels and their role in the lore of Doctor Who, but what I find equally interesting, at least to me, is how they are utilised through the more meta elements of the script, the world building and the production itself. Now, what I could do is just rank every Weeping Angel episode, but I'm going to decide against it. Instead, I will select specific scenes, moments from different episodes, and analyse why, at least in my opinion, they are so effective. But first of all, I think it would be impossible to do this video without mentioning the man himself, Steven Moffat. I love this guy. Some may call him a genius, and you know what? I will too. I think every Doctor Who showrunner is a genius, even if they do make mistakes sometimes a lot. But whatever your feelings on him, the success of his creations cannot be ignored. Some would argue that the Weeping Angels may be the best modern Doctor Who villain yet created, an impressive feat. My personal favourite Moffat villain would have to go to the Silence, who I can do a whole separate video on, to be honest, but even still, I cannot understate the effectiveness of these lonely assassins. And I think that's it. The success right there, rooted in one easy to understand concept, that of the lonely assassin. Have you ever played musical statues? I did at school. It's a fun, harmless, kid-friendly game. Another one, What's the Time, Mr. Wolf? We played this one all the time. There's something about these games where you have to be absolutely still. If you don't know these games, let me fill you in with the rule. One person is put at the front of the, let's say, auditorium, with their back to the wall. Everyone else is put on the other end of the hall, all in a line. Everyone has to be still, can't move. Those are the rules of the game. They can only move when the one person at the front either turns the music on or turns their back. There was always a sense of exhilaration, some childish buzz that always played no matter what in this game. Something I can recall but can't quite put my finger on. And it's that factor which Mr. Moffat so cleverly utilised when coming up with the idea for the Weeping Angels. He even describes this in an interview. I'm just figuring out now, guys, can't use this interview footage or sound. Copyright. It really is a delightful premise. I mean, simple but effective, and all the best Doctor Who monsters are. Think about it from their perspective. You only have a couple weeks to get this done. No other show has to come up with a new threat, a new set, a new selection of characters for a new program every week. They've got to be efficient with this. There isn't the time to sit around explaining all the intricacies and details. From just one look, you can tell there's something wrong with these statues. You see it all the time watching people's first reaction to Blink. Nothing's even happened yet and they're apprehensive and know something's not quite right. That fear of the unknown, that dread, it is what made the Weeping Angels so effective in the context of a 45-minute episode of a low-budget TV series. In fact, some might argue that the more we learned about the Weeping Angels, the less scary they got. I remember back in the day, and even now, some people complained that they got a bit gimmicky. Well, maybe they did, but my point of contention was always since the beginning, when you learned what they would do to you, it didn't seem all that bad. They touch you and send you back in time, but every single person we see get zapped then went on to go back in time and have a really beautiful and nice life. I mean, if I got zapped back in time, I know what I'd do. Go save those lost episode tapes, hell yeah, baby. But my criticisms were quickly amended with what is, in my opinion, the best Weeping Angel episode and sequence. The Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone have their problems, but I love them. Part 1 especially has some very effective iconography, arguably the most iconic for the Weeping Angels, but it is truly the opening of Flesh and Stone where the peak gets reached, in my opinion. This sequence, among having tense, funny and fast-paced dialogue, also highlights the horror of the Weeping Angels more so than any other. The sharp sound cues, the incredible camera angles and lighting, as well as the life and death solution to escaping, all leads to a masterpiece of a section. But did you hear what I just said? Because I think I truly got it. The essence of what makes the Weeping Angels effective. But before that, I have only one question. Have you ever heard of Five Nights at Freddy's? You know, the animatronics, they do tend to get a bit quirky at night. If you've never heard about this game, And movie? Okay. Anyway, if you've never heard of it, this is an indie horror game released in 2014 about a haunted, not Chuck E. Cheese, which took the world by storm. In fact, people are still talking about it today. And there's a movie. Well, we all know how well video game movie adaptations go. But that's not the point. A lot of people may be asking, why are you bringing that up now? Well, because this and this have the exact same design philosophy. As I mentioned earlier, Five Nights at Freddy's is an indie game, which means that like one person made it and it's like 50 megabytes. I played this game as a flash game, guys, on my laptop. But why is it so popular? Well, it's exactly that. The soundscape, the lighting, and the camera angles. If you've never played FNAF or watched it or whatever, these characters, they're animatronic robot kid mascots, by the way. Well, they act exactly the same as Weeping Angels, like to a T. Perhaps they were inspired by it. Due to the technical limitations, Scott Cawthon, the creator of FNAF, couldn't fully animate characters moving, opting instead to show them jumping from place to place with the screen glitching every time they move. We see where they end up going on each camera, with each screen being meticulously crafted to be as suspenseful as possible, with sound cues and atmosphere, making the experience genuinely quite scary. Fun fact, in the trailer for the game, the character Bonnie the Bunny was seen running through the halls and taking his mask off, both things that were cut from the final game and apparently were the scariest parts according to the creator. But it makes sense why he cut it. If you pay attention to the story, the reason these robots are meant to be after you is because they think you're a naked endoskeleton and want to stuff you into a robot suit. So if they took their mask off, that would kind of go against that. This is despite them walking past a naked endoskeleton right there in the parts and service room. But that is because their true nature is actually that they're supernatural and they just want to kill you. They don't care about endoskeleton. Frequently criticized is the movement scene from Flesh and Stone, with people thinking that it takes away from the mystery of the Weeping Angels, not knowing what they actually look like. But as shown in Five Nights at Freddy's, with the only movement shown in the game being these robots' face glitching whenever they're outside your door, sometimes the lack of movement contrasted with actual movement can serve to be very terrifying. While adult audiences may have found this scene disappointing on a conceptual level, in execution I can imagine many kids being scared shitless. And this takes us to our final scene. You see, I wanted to talk about this one specifically after bringing up Five Nights at Freddy's, because in actuality I wanted to do a whole video on this one episode. With all of that setup out of the way, I think you can guess which episode I'm talking about. That is, of course, the Village of Angels, the latest Weeping Angel story, and actually maybe my second favorite, probably. The gothic setting, the lighting, the utilization of previous Weeping Angel tech or mechanics, but also just the inventiveness of it, a great visual style, as well as some pretty clever lines. Now, I will give credit to Muppets Take Manhattan, I mean Angels Take Manhattan. Not a lot of credit is given to the frankly impressive visual style of that episode, something which I think carries it above what many others think of it. I actually do kind of like that one, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We are here to analyze this specific scene, Jericho and the Angels, because this is Doctor Who doing Five Nights at Freddy's. The episode did a good job justifying this set piece, with the Doctor out of the equation and defenseless Jericho left to be toyed with. The compelling part about Five Nights at Freddy's, which allows even those who wish to laugh at it to get invested and genuinely kind of spooked out, is the horrifying situation you find yourself in, with really no way to defend yourself or fight back or even move. All Jericho can do is watch the cameras, hide behind a closed door. It's the same philosophy that guides both stories, until that very last line of defense is also broken, and all that stands between Jericho and his demise is a small blinking light. That is, until he wakes the Doctor up by throwing a plate at her. Okay, that was pretty interesting. I do enjoy doing these kind of deep dive videos into why specific things in Doctor Who are so successful. This discussion type video, they're kind of new to me, but I just wanted to talk about things that I've been thinking about now since these episodes came out. I remember watching Village of Angels and thinking to myself, wow, that is really like Five Nights at Freddy's. But I never really had a chance to go full in depth and explain why it does remind me of that. Am I alone? Maybe. Surely someone else had the same thoughts as me. I kind of doubt anyone will be interested enough to make it to the end of this video, but if you did, maybe leave a like, maybe subscribe. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, hope to make another one soon, and I will see you in the next one.